CPOA's demo days. This is the first one that we've been conducting, and we've had great sessions so far and looking forward to a few more this afternoon. We pivoted to the digital demo days because, of course, we don't have the opportunity to get together face to face, but we do feel it's really important to stay connected with each other and especially connected to our resource partners like Schedule Express. So this is a great way to bring them to you in a concise format at the convenience of your desktop or your mobile device. So we're really excited to bring this to you today, and again in October, on October 14th. So we look forward to seeing you back then as well. So our session at 1 o'clock today is with Schedule Express by Informer Systems, and I would like to welcome Greg Candell, the Vice President, for a great presentation. So Greg, welcome and thanks for joining us, and we look forward to hearing about your product.
All right. Well, thank you, Cindy, and welcome everybody, and glad you were able to take the time out of your day to join us here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and talk a little bit about Schedule Express. Are you all able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. And hopefully now.
There you go.
All righty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a quick slide presentation, give you a little bit of background about Informer Systems, Schedule Express, the service, and a little bit about how Schedule Express works. And then I'm going to get into a live demo. I'm going to go onto the web and actually log into Schedule Express and give you a tour through that and give you a high-level overview of what Schedule Express can do for you out there. So again, thank you for joining us. And a little bit about Schedule or Informer Systems. Informer Systems has been around in public safety since 1979. Long time. We started out with hardware for PSAPs, and then we got into MIS systems for all different walks of public safety. And in 2003, Schedule Express came out. Schedule Express was the first cloud-based scheduling system on the market. Back there in 2003, as you all know, cloud-based service or software as a service was pretty rare, and nobody really thought that was ever going to work. But here we are now, everything is cloud-based, and it's a different world. So Schedule Express was designed from the ground up for public safety. That's all we deal with is public safety. Police, fire, EMS, jails, corrections, Schedule Express fits into all of those areas there. And I'd like to start off describing the business problem. And the reason that I talk about this is I want to convey to you that we have a pretty good idea of what your scheduling issues are, needs, and problems out there, the issues, and where you need help. And if you look at the slide here, you've got a group of employees that belong to different organizations, different groups. They all have different skills, different preferences, personal preferences, and all of those skills and preferences have to align with the schedule, and that's what I'm showing here in the middle here. Along with that, employees have absences, and overtime falls into place. That all has to tie into that working schedule as well. On the other side of that, you've got the demands, and when I say demands, you've got different skill sets, different roles, different requirements, different, you might have things like off-duty assignments and details. You might have different locations, different assets that different people can use, staffing requirements that have to tie into the schedule for those different locations and those different functions. So doing all of that by hand is kind of cumbersome and very time consuming, and usually causes quite a headache. And that's what we usually hear from customers that are our current customers before they were our customers is scheduling's our biggest nightmare, our worst nightmare, our biggest headache. And those that are doing in the manual process, I'm sure would agree. So what Schedule Express was really designed to do is pull all of these challenges together and align those employees and the resources to meet those changing organizational needs. And as we know, those change in public safety down to the minute of the day, day of the week. You know, it's just constantly changing. So today what we find is, and what I'm showing in this slide is today on the left and moving to Schedule Express on the right, but let's talk a little bit about manual scheduling processes. So what we find out there is most of the agencies today, believe it or not, are still scheduling in a manual process. What do I mean by manual process? Well, we're talking about Excel spreadsheets. We're talking about Google calendars. We're talking about emails going back and forth for requesting time off, or forms that have to be filled out. You know, we're talking about overtime being posted on the wall or in a book, you know, for people to sign up for, or again, sending out some kind of information manually. And then you've got periodic and limited information, such as I need to prepare a report. Somebody needs to know how much overtime has been used, what caused the overtime, where was it used. So doing that by hand, again, is very time consuming and usually causes quite a headache. So then you've got, tying into all of that, is our inconsistent rules and practices, because it's really hard to keep all of the maybe the union rules, the local rules, city rules, county rules tied into your schedule on a consistent basis. And it's hard. Sometimes the rules are misinterpreted. Sometimes you miss somebody that should be picking up maybe voluntary overtime, that a rule isn't applied, and they get passed over. So things don't stay fair and consistent if you don't have implement the rules fairly. So, and then managing your schedules, managing your exceptions by hand. Again, somebody calls out sick, you have to go see what effect that has maybe on your coverage situation. And who's next to work if I have to force overtime, or I need to move somebody, who's eligible and qualified to move into those positions. Doing that by hand, again, takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And moving to Schedule Express, we automate all of the workflow processes that you have. And those workflow processes can be absence requests and approvals or denials, trades, if you perform trades, your swaps, the approval of denial of those, overtime. We automate all of your overtime processes, your training, your special assignments, your off duty, your extra duty, all work through Schedule Express, your shift bidding, your vacation bidding. So everything that you're doing manually today, we're going to automate. It's entirely web-based, so you can access Schedule Express from just about anywhere, anytime, any place on any device, including a mobile app. So we have mobile apps on both iOS and Android platforms, and you're able to access Schedule Express there as well. We will generate, and you'll be able to generate through Schedule Express very easily with the information that you put into the report request, and we can in seconds generate just about any type of report that you need. We have a full library of reports, and I'll show you a few when we get into the demo itself. We actually build Schedule Express to your rules, and we validate all of those rules upon every transaction. So with Schedule Express, you might have rules surrounding maybe time off. I don't want to see a time off request less than maybe 5 days prior to the absence start date. Or maybe it's a trade. I don't want two people trading a payback less than maybe 30 days prior to the or 30-day payback date, or maybe a same pay period, rules like that. So there's rules and in every part of your day-to-day schedule. Rules in overtime may be who's next to pick up the overtime on a voluntary basis, on a mandated basis. Is that the person that's worked the most hours of overtime, least hours, or a seniority low to high or high to low, or maybe a rotation or combination of that? All those rules have to be built into the system. you know, you might have rules that say an employee can only work maybe 16 hours and then they have to have 8 off. Tracking that again manually is very difficult to do, hard to do, especially if you're working extra duty and off-duty events. And then managing your exceptions, we manage them in real time in Schedule Express. So you're going to be actually managing those through Schedule Express. Talking more about Schedule Express, we are roles or permissions based. What that means here and what I'm showing here in this screen, I'm showing 3 roles just for demonstration here, an explanation. You see an admin role, a manager's role, and a user's role. So think about the different roles, and we're going to build Schedule Express to meet your requirements there. And each role will have different rights, okay? So, or restrictions. So maybe an administrator role, well, they have the keys to the city. They can do everything. They're able to go in and build coverage plans. They're able to add users. They're able to move people around, lots of things, maybe build overtime requirements. Where a manager or a supervisory level or a role, well, they may be able to you know, do something like post overtime, approve absence requests, trade requests, etc., make assignments. Where a user, they're going to have access to the schedule. They might be able to put in requests and all, but they're not going to have access to maybe approve certain things. But you can build as many roles or permissions as you like down to an individual basis. So we are roles based, okay? We are cloud-based, as I mentioned earlier. We are software as a service. There's no hardware, software, or systems to deploy. So there's no annual maintenance fees. That's all included in the service. Our implementation and training is all done on site. We do that. It is most effective. It's a lot better when we can interact and train on site, and I'm sure you agree with that, than an online demo or online training. Our service and support is second to none, 24/7, 365. Again, maintenance is all included there. So we've got a great support setup. We're all over the country, very big to very small, and we have all kinds of customers. You can see in California, we've got quite a few there. This is a list of some of our customers, but just wanted to give you an idea of what was going on in California. We have very big to very small. Examples are San Diego Police Department. You go up to Washington, Seattle, you know, back east, we have the Boston PD. Down in Texas, we've got Houston, and that actually is Houston Emergency Center there. And they are the 4th largest communication center in the country. But our smallest customer is about 8, and that's in Flathead. That's actually in University of Long Beach. And that's Office of the Chancellor actually has 8 users, and we go up to Clark County, Nevada. Just the jail alone there has about 1,800, and everything in between. So we can accommodate any size agency that you have. Okay, so just to wrap up here, the benefits of moving to Schedule Express is going to help you make accurate real-time business decisions. You're going to be managing your schedules in real time, all of your exceptions in real time, and that's big. You're going to have access to your schedules anytime, any place, on any device. So any of the 5 main browsers from a PC, from a computer, you're able to do that, and also your mobile apps. Okay, it's going to expedite your scheduling transactions in a big way. It's going to reduce your scheduling time and your overtime management. You're going to handle overtime much more efficiently, much more quickly. What we find going from a manual process, as I described, to Schedule Express, you're going to save about 40 to 60% time and money here. So your return on investment moving to Schedule Express is very great. So just wanted to point that out there. I'm going to jump in now to the Schedule Express website, and let me jump into that real quick. Are you able to see the Schedule Express login screen before I start moving along?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. So what you'll do is you'd go to scheduleexpress.com and you would log in. You'd have a unique email address and password, and everybody would have one that was a user. And you go ahead and log in. Schedule Express is going to take you initially to your personal schedule. Now I've logged in as Bruce Wayne and as Bruce Lee. And you can see up in the upper right-hand corner, it says, welcome Bruce. So I've logged in as Bruce. I've got Bruce set up for demo purposes as an administrator. So his role as an administrator role, he's got rights to see and do everything. That will really help out for the demo here. And so I want to take you through the personal schedule. So the first place you would see is your personal schedule. And you can see it's the personal schedule for September 2020, and it's in location patrol to the right of that. So we are location based. Patrol might be one location. You might have other locations. You might have communications. You might have jail. You might have investigations. There could be a number of locations. And each of those locations could have their own shifts, shift patterns, their own rules, and we can set Schedule Express up that way. Okay. If they wanted to see next month, they can just click on the next button, see October, or they can actually go back to August, clicking on previous, or go to a specific date. They can click on that date and jump right to that date in their personal schedule. If they want to see what duty they've been assigned that day, they can click on duty assignments and see where they've been assigned. You can see on the schedule here that Bruce is working Tuesday through Friday, 1600 to 0200. That's the schedule with 3 days off. You can see today is highlighted in red. You can also see on Sunday that Bruce is also working an off-duty event. He's working a marathon from 0600 to 1200. If I want to see the details of that, I can click through and see the whole assignment there. For sake of time, I won't do all of that today. You can see a trade request pending down on the 30th, which means a trade has been negotiated. He's waiting to see if that's approved or denied by the appropriate supervisor or supervisors. On the 25th, there's an absence pending. What that means is an absent request has been submitted, but it has not been approved. He hasn't heard back yet, but as soon as it is, he'll get the information back through Schedule Express. I'm going to go through the blue bar and give you some of the features and functions of Schedule Express. The blue bar at the top has quite a bit here. We'll start with the Request tab. Off to the left, you can see under the Request tab in the Trades area, you can see My Trades, Past, Present, and Future. You can create a trade request from here and view available trades that you're eligible and qualified to work. So an employee can come in here and say what's posted, what's available, and go ahead and do that. If you're a supervisor, you're able to approve trades. If I want to approve a trade, I can just click through and review the trade request. There is somebody, two people here, Lawrence and Damon, have requested a trade, and now I can make a decision whether I want to approve that trade, deny that trade, or wait to approve that later on. I can send it back to the pending list. I can manually record a trade if the employees haven't. Of course, as an administrator or supervisor, I'm probably going to have the rights to do this manually. That's outside of the automated process. I can see my absences, past, present, and future from this drop down. I can create an absence request from here. I can approve absences. If I'm a supervisor, I can come in here if somebody has submitted an absence request from the personal schedule or from the create absence request in the dropdown. I'm able to come in here and approve absences. Really easy to do for a supervisor. If an absence request has been submitted, I can come in here and see the pending absences. I can come in here and take a look at Danny DeVito's request for absence here. When I click through, I can see all the details. He's requesting time off. Danny's requesting on the 18th, he's requesting time from 0600 to 1800, which is a 12-hour shift. His reason is family. And I can see here, if I approve this absence request, well, I'm going to have a shortage for a sergeant because I have a staffing requirement. I'll get into that in a few minutes, from 0600 to 1800s. It gives me a lot of options here as a supervisor. I can approve that absence and just live with a shortage. I can approve that absence and post overtime automatically to match the entire absence. If it's the entire shift, if it's part of the shift, I can just check the box here and post for the coverage plan shortage. I can select what overtime reason I want to post that up. These would be your overtime codes and descriptions. I can approve part of it. I can partially approve that request. I can deny that request. I can pick a deny reason, which would be your reasons. We would configure Schedule Express and customize it to your reasons. I can create overtime. What that would do would be create overtime without approving the request. So it would post it up. I could wait to see if anybody volunteered. If so, I could go ahead and approve. But I could post that up without approving this absence if I wanted to do that as well. So lots of options for the supervisor. We really make it easy for you. Moving down, recording a scheduled absence if somebody called out sick, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Record a scheduled absence if they haven't gone through the process of requesting the Schedule Express. My overtime assignments, I can see my overtime past, present, and future. I can volunteer for overtime on a standing basis through Schedule Express. User overtime request, I can get into, maybe I was stuck out in the field. I worked past the end of my shift. Today, you're probably, if you're doing it manually, scheduling manually, you're probably filling out an email or a form saying, hey, I worked an extra hour past the end of my shift. I want to request overtime for that. You'll do that now through Schedule Express and eliminate that paper process or the email. If I want to view available overtime that I'm eligible and qualified to work, I can come in here to view available overtime and see everything's posted that I'm able to volunteer for. Lots of overtime posted. If I was interested in the position of an officer right here on the 17th, I can come in here and click on volunteer and see all the information surrounding that posting. I can see here who's volunteering for it so far. I can also see none of the time slots have been assigned. I can see that it's for an officer on the 17th, 0800 to 1600. I can see the volunteer time, 0800 to 1600. You can lock that down where they have to volunteer for the entire shift or just part of the shift. When I submit that, it'll add my name to the shift or to the volunteer list here. You can go ahead and make this where it's first come, first serve as well. So depending on your rules, you can set Schedule Express up the way that you do business today. That's in all the areas, okay? You can post overtime availability very, very easy through Schedule Express. You can click through, post up a shift or certain date, certain time. You can do that manually. Why you're posting the overtime, all through Schedule Express, create it, and it will blast that overtime request out to all eligible, qualified, and available users. It'll go out via text message, via email, to the mobile app. It will also go within the My Messages inbox, which we haven't talked about yet, within Schedule Express. But we were very good at notifying through Schedule Express automatically. You can approve and manage overtime through Schedule Express. If, for instance, you wanted to, you had posted overtime up, you can come through and take a look at what's posted but not filled. I'm looking at a 2-week period. I can look at the dates, see what's posted but not filled. If I wanted to jump out to Tuesday, the 22nd, and see what's there, I've got 2 postings. If I want to see if anybody's volunteered, or maybe I want to make an assignment right now, I simply click on review and I can go ahead and see all the information surrounding that posting. I've got 11-hour shift from 7 to 1800 for an officer in patrol, and I can see my voluntary overtime list. I'm going to go ahead and put this list together for you, or Schedule Express will, based on your voluntary overtime rules. You'll see I have a lot of names here. These are all qualified, eligible, and available employees here. So this list will be sorted based on your rules, and it could be, like I mentioned earlier, it could be least amount of overtime worked. It could be seniority high to low, low to high. It could be a rotational list, or a combination of that to create this list. Nice thing is, when you come in, we know that Damon DeWolf is the next person based on your rules to work the voluntary overtime. I would just click on his name, hit assign. It would notify Damon that he got the voluntary overtime, and just by that click, it would also put him on the schedule, okay? Damon DeWolf is also, if there was nobody in the voluntary list, we create that mandated list based on your mandated rules. So again, the person at the top of the list based on your mandated rules would be the next to work mandated. Again, if you want to mandate somebody, you click on their name, assign it, it'll put them on the composite schedule as mandated overtime. So lots in the request tab. Your training is all covered through Schedule Express, your special assignments. Under reports, we have a lot of reports here. I'm just showing a few here: absence detail, mandated overtime reports, many overtime reports, overtime detail, overtime summaries, work summaries, as you can see, quite a bit training summaries, quite a few here. We have again, a whole library of reports. So manage users tab, this is a tab where an administrator would be able to add new users, manage roles, things like that. Schedule management, I want to jump into the composite schedule in a month view. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Now I'm showing here September 20th, and again, location patrol. Like I mentioned earlier, lots of locations. These again could be different rules, different setups, different shifts, different shift patterns. You can see down in the schedule here, some assignments here that put together. You can see that Chris O'Donnell, well, he's working in patrol from the jail. He's qualified, he's in green. You can see hours that are grayed out. They're on the schedule, not counting as coverage. Some of those examples are absences. Here's somebody in a meeting. Here's somebody on call. Here's somebody in training. They're on the schedule, but not counting as coverage. Somebody in a marathon. Real easy to move somebody around on the schedule. We make Schedule Express very user-friendly. You're able to, as a supervisor, come in, right-click on the assignment, and go ahead and do a number of the actions listed here. Assigning a user to schedule and do the schedule assignment, recording unscheduled absences. These are all shortcuts of what I went over here in the request tab. Much easier. You can also configure the month view, the week view, or the day view in a method that you would like to see, a view that you would like to see. This is the week view. I'm just showing a week of the month. A day view, you might like working off of a day view where we're breaking it down to hours and minutes of that day. And you can see here the grayed out areas here as well. You still have the right click capabilities in a day view as well as a week or month view. Okay, so these can be configured, these views, any way you like, and many ways it can be configured. You know, they can be by groups, by job categories, by shifts, by individual users, by shift patterns, or a combination of that to create your schedule views. So this is just an example here for demo purposes. You can also do things like duty assignments. So if you want to assign somebody to a duty and create maybe a duty roster, this is where that would be done within Schedule Express. You have your list of duties and your coverage requirements for those duties within Schedule Express, and you're able to come up with things like, and I'll give an example of maybe a duty assignment, maybe a roster report. You want a roster report like this, Schedule Express can create just about any type of roster report. So doing this by hand takes a lot of time, as you know, and you usually do this on a daily basis. Schedule Express can create that for you, really save you a lot of time and headache. So that's part of the reporting structure as well. Down below, you see some colors.
We've got a couple questions in the chat if you wanted to answer those as you finish up here.
Okay, well, why don't I save those for last, and I'm going to wrap up real quick here. Down below, you see some colors. Now this works, or this comes into play in any of the screens. You want to see everything clear like you do on the 20th and the 14th. That says you're perfectly staffed. If you're red, you have some understaffed situations in this month view, for an example. If you're overstaffed, you have a yellow indicator, and if you're over and under, it's an orange indicator. So the point being here, you're able to build coverage plans down to the minute of the day, day of the week, month of the year. So we really can define those schedule requirements and your coverage requirements for not only your duties, but everybody that you would need based on their job categories. Okay, and in the day view, you can see some job categories that I have listed here. Okay, so that's a good, just a brief overview of Schedule Express. As you can see, there's a lot here to cover, and I can do that in a demo. Demo takes about 90 minutes, and I really can get into a lot more of the detail than today. But I will open it up to questions. If anybody has questions, feel free to ask away.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. We have a couple in the chat. Chris wants to know, will Schedule Express talk to different timesheet systems?
Yes, it will. Actually, we create a timesheet and we can export the timesheet into your payroll system from Schedule Express. I can show you an example real quick of a timesheet. Here's an example here. So I've got a 14-day period, and this is a timesheet, and it's an example of a timesheet. They can be put together any way you want. But for Dan, it's a 14-day period. You can see day 1 through 14, the start date, the end date. The type and the code would be your types, your codes. So I show them on regular days off the first 2 days, and then a normal 10-hour shift on the 3rd day. Now he worked his 10 hours and some overtime on the 4th, and you can see the code, the description, any supervisor notes, etc. So you can add up the hours and the minutes. I can total them at the bottom and actually export this information even down to the code, and they probably line up with your payroll codes and descriptions, and that would forward, we can forward that CSV file and map it to your payroll system. So we have the capability, and we do that all the time. That's quite common.
Awesome.
Okay.
And a follow-up to that question, are there different levels of approval for different ranks?
Yes, there are. There are different levels. So we do that. That's part of the customization. And the answer is absolutely yes.
Awesome, you can do that. You know, I was reading in your course description and the presentation description, and you mentioned it here as well. The user-friendly technology reliably returns 40 to 60% of both the dollars spent and the labor hours wasted. That's a big number.
That's a big number. So one of our first customers had a group of 200 employees. It actually took 3 schedulers, almost a full-time job, and doing it manually for 200. It was just a mess. Yeah. And when we implemented Schedule Express, it cut it down to 1 scheduler. So, and they were doing it efficiently with even some time left over. So it's really a big return. It's a true return. And that's where your savings comes into play. Because now, especially the way that we're working today in public safety, you don't have time to sit and work on a schedule all day and all night long. You don't have time to do this. You need the automation to give you back the time so you can get out and actually supervise and do the things that you should be doing, not playing with a schedule. And that's what happens. It's just the manual process is just intense, and it's time consuming.
Right, archaic too.
It is archaic, it is. Mm-hmm.
Right. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions in the chat box. I do want to remind you that Greg and his team with Schedule Express are featured on the CPOA event app under the demo days section, and also as a sponsor. So we would like to thank them for joining us today and providing such great information on their products. You can reach out to them through the app, ask for more information, contact all their website URLs are there, and Greg's information is on the app as well. So we encourage you to connect with them. You'll be able to find them on the app for at least 4 more weeks as we progress through the demo day schedules. So that's it for us today, but we do have a winner that we would like to announce. So I'm going to share my screen, Greg. We've got a prize winner.
All right.
And if I recall, it's a
$100 Amazon gift card.
Nice. And congratulations to our winner, Chris Monahan with Piedmont Police
Department. Great, from Piedmont. Great.
Woot woot.
Congratulations, Chris.
Yeah.
So
well, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Greg, thanks so much for the great information that you've shared with your product and all of its capabilities.
Right.
And again, reach out to Greg
you want to reach out,
through the app or directly.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks so much. And as a reminder, our next Demo Days presentation is up at 2 o'clock with Pilot, and we look forward to chatting with you guys then. Take care. And see you soon.
Thanks again.